If you want to, you've made it, have a second to substituting it?
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll go ahead and vote on substituting it for the item.
Second to substitute.
And if you'll hold your commentary, unless there's a commentary on the substitution action. Councilmember Pennington.
I have what I think is a friendly amendment, and I wonder if I should offer it now or wait until we offer
Wait
it.
until it's officially.
Right, thank you.
Anyone else? Moving to a vote on accepting the substitute, favoring, opposed, motion carries. The substitute is now before us. Councilmember Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. If the last 3 hours have taught us one thing, and if the last year has taught us another thing, it's that we have no idea what we're heading into. So the purpose of this, I've heard some terms like uncharted waters. I've heard some terms like we're moving in a new direction. I just heard a conversation that said Kubash is fine, Kubash is not fine. We don't know what the heck went on there. So this amendment actually...
Not fine.
The amendments, Councilmember Kubash is always fine in my book. So this amendment actually accomplishes 2 objectives. This is about process. This puts a cap on the TNCs similar to the present cap that we have on the taxi cabs that are allowed to operate in the city. This also allows this council to have a 1-year period of time to see how this new transportation system has worked, and to have this council make the appropriate adjustments in 12 months from now. We talk about the task force that's being developed that isn't in place today. We talk about the data that we don't have. So this is a process that gives us the opportunity to develop the task force, to gather the data, to look at this whole transportation industry and see if it works or it doesn't work, and to make the adjustments. It actually came from a conversation I heard from Councilmember Green and Stardick having when they were discussing the look back on the number of handicap-enabled vehicles. And I think that makes sense. So the 2 documents that are in front of you, or the document that's in front of you, you'll notice that the red part is my deletions to ARA's recommended ordinance and my additions to the ARA recommended ordinance that I offered last week. And the blue is my friendly amendment or my substitute amendment that I'm offering this week, which gives this body a 1-year look back and an opportunity to make the appropriate adjustments. Let me remind you that the ARA hired a very highly paid consultant to look at this, and that consultant recommended caps on TNCs. And as I did my homework last night, I Googled a couple of cities that we've been talking about for the last couple of months, and that is Seattle and San Francisco. And Seattle in March voted to have a 150 vehicle cap on Uber and Lyft. And 6 months later, they changed that because they went through an evaluation process and they looked at the data that they gathered, and then they made the appropriate adjustments, in their opinion. San Francisco did not have a cap. They allowed anyone and everyone to operate. And the genie's out of the bottle on that one, and now they're having difficulty with mobility and the number of users that are accessing this. Some of them working 1 hour every 3 months, some of them working 8 hours a day. So they're having some issues related to maybe going too far with and not implementing a cap. So I think my amendment offers an opportunity for us to look at a cap, and then to also come back and everyone on this body make an adjustment at the end of the year, see if it worked, look what the task force is going to do, and then make appropriate adjustments. So thank you.
Councilmember Martin, may I confirm the items in red on this new handout, the one that's before us, you already made that last time, and then you have added.
Yes, ma'am.
You did not change anything that you had previously submitted, you're just adding.
No, ma'am. The red was submitted last week, the blue was submitted today. And in totality, in totalness, I'm trying to look at the proviso because
in the remainder of Councilmember Martin's time, Ms. Paz, have you had an opportunity to look at what he's handed out? No. Yes. And and a comment on that.
I wanted to first clarify something on there's only one city in the country that has done caps, and that was Seattle, as you said. That was actually overturned almost immediately. I think it was within either the first 30 or 60 days because it went to a petition, and so the mayor stepped in on that issue, and that was immediately repealed. And then 6 months later, they came back with another recommendation not to have the caps. So there's no city in the country that effectively has put caps on. In Houston, the reason that we have never lost a vehicle for hire lawsuit is that we have a rational basis for everything that we do, and there's no rational basis for any cap on the TNCs. This is very distinguished with cabs, which is a highly regulated industry. You know, we have no caps on limousines. Limousines have gone basically from 900 limos when I first took this job to now we run 1,800, 1,900 limos. Has not affected the taxi cab industry. I agree with your look-back statement in terms of a year from now, we could look back in the band and see what we've done, but I think that would be, in terms of any corrections to the market, to put a cap on it now, and again, I would defer to the city attorney on this, but to put a cap on it now would, I think, open us up to unnecessary litigation because there is no way of calculating what that cap should be. It would be completely arbitrary.
Sure, everything we're doing today is completely arbitrary, in my opinion. And just a point of reference, I did pull the San Francisco Business Times, and it was a 6-month gap. It was instituted on March 16th, and then just repealed recently. So I'm not sure if you're wrong or the San Francisco Business Times was wrong, but there's my article. But anyway, I think the whole conversation that we're doing right now points to the ability to have a look back, assess it right now, look at letting them into the marketplace. 150, I don't know if that's the magic number. I just looked at this article and figured out the city of Seattle knew what they were doing.
Councilmember Sardi.
Thank you. Once again, these are the conversations we had during our meetings, and it does create some heartburn for a lot of folks to pull an arbitrary number like 150 or any numbers out of the air and without good data. So the task force, just to remind everyone that it's going to be comprised of representatives appointed and subject to the approval of City Council, with the majority being from the disabled community, to give a look at this because they're going to be meeting with, I was going to look at the exact wording to make sure, but I know it's no earlier than 6 months and no later than 12 months. So it coincides with what Councilmember Martin's intent is to look at the data and evaluate if there's a need for caps or not, and if it is based on good data. So I don't know if this is something that maybe we should look out there unless there's something that the ARA or the city legal could see there, because an arbitrary number makes me uncomfortable with the fact that what the discussions we had during the facilitation, and Councilmember Green can attest to this, that what I call an FTE, full-time equivalent, what does that mean, and how do you, is it number of drivers or is it number of cars? You've got cabs, 3 shifts on a car, you've got drivers coming in as ride shares, may ride 1 hour 1 week and then not for 3 weeks and then another hour or 2 hours or whatever. So what is that equivalent, and how do you measure that? So that's what we're trying to get some good data and make sure that we're making good decisions going forward. I appreciate the attempt at trying to figure out that we don't want to have it to lessen the impact on the market and to the unintended consequences, but I think also we need to be very careful, and maybe this is an opportunity to maybe utilize a task force. I don't know if the councilmember would consider that. Yes, Councilmember Martin.
Yes, and the number I don't think was arbitrary. It was from Dr. Mundy's report.
I'm sorry.
He was the one that recommended it 150.
And what was that based on?
His report to ARA.
I know, but what was his, where did he get that number from?
His expertise in doing this all around the country. That we paid $50,000 for.
Right, not to do the back and
That's
forth.
okay. I was just trying to understand what his calculation was based on, because I don't recall. Thank you.
He did not have a local calculation. Point taken.
Thank you.
Councilmember Davis.